What's up, you guys? We're going to be doing something slightly different from our other Manga Sutra manga review videos in this series. We're going to be doing a manga review revisit. Now, we have been doing some of those types of videos in this series already with Ibitsu and I Am a Hero, where we talked about the ending and our thoughts about the ending. But we're going to be creating a mini series within this playlist where we revisit some of the manga series that we have did a brief review of the first few chapters, and we read a little bit more, and then we cover our thoughts about the manga as it's ongoing. We are on chapter 70 of Monkey's Peak, and I am invested in the characters. I'm invested in the plot. And when you're just this invested in everything about the series, you want to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about some of my thoughts on these characters and the plot itself and what's going on. I'm going to try to be very concise. I'm going to try to be organized, but let's just be honest. It's probably going to come down to me ranting and rambling about some characters, and it's just going to get messy. So I'm going to try to trim it down to like little cuts and organize it as neatly as possible, right? So let's get into it. Okay, first off, we're not going to be covering every single character that has died in this series so far. A lot of people have died at the start of the series, and those were people that had very little exposition or very little character development, and they were absolute fodder just to die to the monkeys. I'm not going to cover them. What we're going to be covering is the final 13 people that have survived up until this point, up till chapter 70. And I'm just going to be starting off with the most unimportant characters, or least liked characters to me. First off, we have Tanaka. This man ran away at the start of the series. He hid somewhere and he managed to survive up until this point by himself. And it wasn't until Anzai tortured and exiled Saotome, and Saotome basically fought a monkey and flung it and himself off a cliff, that Tanaka discovered Saotome. And don't get me wrong here, I understand this is a survival manga. I understand that this is a survival situation. I understand there's very limited food and very limited water. And I get that Tanaka was thirsty as hell the entire time. But when Saotome and Tanaka make their way back up the mountain, and Saotome tells Tanaka to tell Anzai's group that there is more than one monkey and that they are more likely to be attacked soon, Tanaka meets up with Anzai's group. He's thirsty. They give him some water. They give him some food, right? So you're thinking, okay, good. They made sure he was straight. Right? But even after all of that, he steals a soda. And this is like the dumbest thing that you could possibly do. And I understand that Tanaka's just getting into the group, right? He's just getting into this whole situation. So he doesn't know the full picture of what's going on with Anzai's group, because Anzai at this point is batshit crazy. This guy is talking about commitment and unity. He's beating the shit out of people. He's cutting off toes. He's interrogating people. He is basically trying to be the most toxic alpha male in the entire group. It's his way or the highway, right? So when a soda gets stolen, Anzai starts basically going batshit crazy. He's starting to politely ask people, hey, so who stole the soda? You know, don't worry. I'll forgive you. If you just come out, come on. I'm not gonna hurt you. Nobody fesses up to it, you know. Even though we know at this point Tanaka's, coward ass stole it, but nobody fesses up to it, because nobody's gonna. I don't know why. Literally, I don't know why. Tanaka, like, Anzai is basically telling you he's gonna forgive you, right? But so nobody fesses up. And we have Himuro here. He's tortured as he's lying on Sato, and he's saying, hey, Sato, this woman, she stole the soda. She's just like, it wasn't me. And, Himuro, he's doing anything to save himself in this situation because he's tied up. He's missing 2 toes. He's like, oh, yeah. She's the monkey's accomplice as well. Anzai is basically tying her up. He's about to torture her and interrogate her to figure out what information she has, and also to basically figure out if she has the soda bottle, right? But before he does all of that, I'm getting too far ahead. Before he does all that, they have Sato search her own backpack, and she finds the soda in there, right? So she thinks that somebody planted it, and she immediately suspects Tanaka. Her guess was 100% accurate. She immediately suspects that it was Tanaka that planted the soda. But because everybody's really just against her at this point, she gets tied up and she's about to get interrogated anyways. Tanaka sits there. He's about to watch her get her head bashed in with a shovel by Fujishiba and Tono on 2 different occasions. Still doesn't fess up. He hears that Anzai is torturing people, cutting off toes and doing all sorts of type of stuff, right? Still doesn't fess up at all. At all. It is only after the monkeys attack and kill some people that he fesses up to taking the soda. And it's just like, why? Why, my dude? You were already given something to drink, if I recall correctly. You were already given food, if I recall correctly. And you also see that there's a lot of people in this cabin. You see that resources are very limited. You see that Anzai is trying to ration off water and food, and you're going to take a whole soda? You just got there. You literally just got there. You ran away like a coward and left everyone else to fend for themselves. And you managed to weasel your way somewhere in the woods away from all the conflict. And then you finally come back and you just steal an extra soda bottle. Like, Tanaka's a whole coward, right? But when Miyata's group and Anzai's group reunites, he sides with Anzai. He basically becomes Anzai's underling, all right? But when they find another cabin and they're trying to hold out there till the next morning for rescue, because that's an ongoing theme in this manga at this point. They just need to hold out till morning because rescue's gonna come. They're just estimating how much time it takes for rescue to come. And we all know that rescue is not gonna come. You know, I was up at like chapter 28, chapter 30, chapter 40, and I saw we had like 28 more chapters, 30 more chapters. And I was just like, yeah, rescue's not coming, Chief. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, rescue's not coming. You see all of these chapters, rescue's not coming. There's some type of twist that's gonna happen. Rescue's not coming for you. But they find this cabin. They're trying to survive at the cabin. And the monkeys and this person that's wielding this katana that is supposedly their accomplice, right? Or the mastermind behind this. They give the group a letter that says 2 people can escape. 2 people can escape tonight and the rest will be slaughtered, right? So the group is trying to figure out who are they going to send for the escape. So they're picking the weakest people and just the people with the lowest chance of survival. So Saotome is going and they're thinking about sending Saotome or they're sending Saotome and maybe Sato or somebody else. But Anzai notices that Tanaka's gone. We see Tanaka, he's booking it. He's literally just booking it. He's running. They seemingly let him pass. The monkey and the guy with the katana, they just let him pass. They let him go. But the thing is, the group had already suspected that it was a trap, right? The group had correctly assumed that the monkeys and this person, they are trying to kill them all off slowly. They're trying to separate them. They have no intentions of letting even one person go alive. So they're trying to kill everyone off. Tanaka, in his greed and his selfishness, runs off on his own, separate from the group. And it's only later on that we discover that Tanaka is tied up and just murdered. And we discovered that he was used as a hostage to record a video from the monkeys and this monkey accomplice to tell the rescue teams not to come to the mountain. And that if anyone else comes to the mountain, people are going to die. So Tanaka walked right into their trap. I feel no pity for Tanaka. That guy was a weasel. You know, good riddance. Okay, good riddance. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Good riddance on Tanaka dying. Don't really care for that guy. Next up, we have Minami, who is one of my least favorite characters in this manga because he is an asshole throughout the majority of it. Minami is very weak-minded and he follows this mob-like mentality where he echoes the group's collective sentiments and thoughts in any given moment when it arises. When the group suspected Saotome of being the monkey's accomplice and they wanted Anzai to torture him, he had no hesitation with encouraging Anzai to do so, even as Anzai is beating the life out of Saotome. When they suspected that Saotome was hiding food rations and water rations in his clothes, Minami and the group did not hesitate to try to strip Saotome down to his underwear to find any hidden water, even though there was none. When it came down to Satao, a woman being accused of being the monkey's accomplice, and Anzai having to interrogate her, Minami did not hesitate to cheer that on and echo the group's sentiments of do whatever it takes. When it came down to them finding the cabin and the food potentially being poisoned, the water potentially being poisoned, they did not hesitate to have Saotome drink the food and eat the food, because the group's collective sentimentality at that point was Saotome suspicious. We don't really care if he dies or not. He's going to be our guinea pig, right? Minami has been a sleaze bag and a scum bag throughout the entire thing, and it just even gets higher as the chapters further progress. When Anzai's group is meeting up with Miyata's group and they're crossing this rope chain bridge, the monkey's right behind them. We have Satao, who is dehydrated, who is basically going through severe hunger knock, and we have Tono, who is basically just a kid, and you know, he's also dehydrated. He's not really energized, right? And we have Izuka, Fujishiba, and Minami, who are pretty nourished. They have some secret food rations going on that they are splitting between the three of them. So when the monkey's chasing after them, you have two slow, dehydrated, thirsty people at the front and three energized people in the back. Minami did not hesitate to kick Tono, basically a kid, off of the cliff. Luckily for Tono, he managed to grab the edge of the cliff and survive. And he did not hesitate to threaten to do the same to Satao, who had to climb up the cliff to basically avoid being kicked off. And even though Satao got out of his way, he was taunting her, telling her, yeah, you better get out of my way. When Satao and Tono basically climb back up and they're making their way back across to where Minami, Izuka, and Fujishiba are, with the monkey right behind them, Minami is basically throwing rocks at Satao and Tono, basically telling them to turn around and fight the monkey, knowing that they're both dehydrated, they're both thirsty, it's just a woman and a kid. They're not going to win against an oversized muscular monkey, right? And he doesn't care. He's still throwing rocks. He's hitting Satao in the stomach with one. Satao basically gets angry. She tries to fight him. He punches her square in the face, calls her an amateur, dares her to get back up, and tells her that she better go and fight that monkey. She ends up kicking Minami off the cliff. He falls to his death, splits his skull open on the rocks. I don't care. All right, Minami was a scumbag and an asshole throughout the majority of it. And even with the broken arm, he was just being a whiny little bitch. One of the most despicable characters that I wish would die at any given second in this series is Himuro. This man is a weasel. He is an absolute slime ball. He is an opportunist, and he will basically sell his mother's soul if it means saving his skin, right? We find out that he murdered a woman at the beginning of the manga, and he covered that up as a monkey attack, right? But when we make it to the cabin and Anzai, Miyata, everyone's there, and they're keeping watch for a monkey to make sure they don't get attacked in the middle of the night, what is Himuro doing? He's opening a window, and he gets caught by Saotome, Miyata, Anzai, most of the group, right? And he is being suspected of being the monkey's accomplice. Anzai is being very determined to get this information out of Himuro, because in Anzai's mind, he is protecting the rest of the group, and he is willing to go to any lengths and any means necessary to extract the information. So he is torturing Himuro, he is cutting off Himuro's toes, but Himuro legitimately is not the monkey's accomplice. He is just genuinely a piece of shit. And Himuro, being a piece of shit that he is, he's in this situation where Anzai is going to keep torturing him until he gives up something that he cannot give up because he's not the monkey's accomplice. So, you know, Himuro's like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So he decides to drag down Saotome with him. He accuses Saotome of being the monkey's accomplice, and that Saotome was basically offering him protection if he just did what he said. Anzai, literally not in his right mind and so determined to save the rest of the group, and just stop the monkey's accomplice, he decides to tie up Saotome and interrogate him as well. And Saotome is having the ever living life beaten out of him by Anzai, who's like this freaking big, bulky ass quarterback, right? And Saotome isn't the monkey's accomplice, but Saotome's still taking his beating, man. He's still taking this beating. It's brutal. It's brutal. And Himuro's just sitting there, just dragging everybody down. He accuses Satao, the one of the females in the group, of being the monkey's accomplice later on, right? He claims that he saw her hide the soda and that she's the monkey's accomplice and all of this other stuff. And Satao is about to get tortured by Anzai as well. And basically, we find out Himuro's just basically lying. And we find out that he accused Satao of being the monkey's accomplice because he was hoping that Anzai would interrogate her and kill her. And we find out that he opened the window earlier in the cabin because he wanted to kill Satao and blame it on the monkey as well, because the woman he killed earlier was an accountant. She found out that he was basically embezzling and funneling money into his own personal expenses, and he thought Satao, being an accountant, had overheard that and knew as well. So he was trying to silence two people that could possibly bring him down. Satao is genuinely a piece of shit, and I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. But for whatever reason, Anzai, after a monkey attack on the cabin, is really desperate to get some information. So he makes a plea deal with Himuro. Himuro just has to tell him whatever he knows about the monkeys and why he did what he did, right? Himuro fesses up, he comes clean, but he doesn't know anything about the monkeys. So not only does Himuro get untied, he gets a free soda and he gets a chance to leave with some food rations, right? But he's contributed nothing. He's contributed nothing. He's just admitted that he's a murderer and that he's just a piece of shit. And he gets a soda for it. You already have very limited resources and you gave this man a soda and you told him that you're not going to tell the police what he did. That he can basically just run off into the wilderness and just survive, right? So I'm just like, I don't agree with Anzai's decisions, but okay. I understand that Anzai is trying to be the best leader that he can possibly be at this point, but giving a plea deal to a murderer and giving him very limited resources that are valuable that you have just for him, I can't understand it. So Himuro, he runs off, basically escapes, but we find out later on when we find a new cabin and we find out there's a human accomplice that is not a part of the group, that Himuro actually did survive and he wasn't attacked by the monkeys. He wasn't attacked by the human accomplice. They just basically shoot him back and he found his way back to the group. Now at this point, the group still has no love for Himuro. He is basically the outcast of the group, and if there's any dangerous situation, Himuro is going to be the one that they use as a test dummy here. Fair enough. I just still wish that he would die. One character that I grew to like towards the end of their character development arc is Okajima. He has this piggish face and this very portly figure, and I didn't initially like him because he had this very mob-like mentality like Minami and the rest of the group. If they said that Saotome was the monkey accomplice with absolutely no evidence, he was going to lean towards that. If they said that we need to sacrifice this completely innocent person on little to no evidence, he was going to lean towards that as well. He was a people pleaser. And another thing that further made me not like him was that he had a very low survivability. He had no practical skills that made him an asset to the group as a whole or increased the entire group's survivability rate. He was just somebody that was occupying space, taking up space and food and resources, and contributed nothing to the group. You always have these type of people in these horror survival mangas or even in these survival movies that are complaining about being hungry, about being tired, about being thirsty, but they offer nothing of practical value towards the entire situation for the survival of the group or even for themselves. And that's what I really just did not like about Okajima. But what changed for me was when Anzai started going off the deep end and he started interrogating people, and Miyata and Hayashi, they didn't really agree with it. Hasegawa decided to join along with them and they decided to go down the mountain. Okajima, unlike the rest of the group, decided to throw in his lot with Miyata. Miyata accepted him in there. They started to climb down the mountain. And I kind of put that as like a positive in Okajima's favor, because Tono was like, you know what? I don't agree with Anzai's methods, but whatever it takes, I'm siding with him. Everybody else, they just stayed with Anzai, which was a terrible choice, to be honest. But they stayed because they were sheep. And Anzai is a wolf. But Okajima, he's a pig. He decided to go with Miyata. I started to further empathize with Okajima when it was Okajima, Hayashi, and Miyata crossing this rope train bridge. Hasegawa disappeared. He was supposed to be watching the back for any monkey attacks. He is gone. Supposedly murdered by the monkey. And the monkey is trying to cross the rope train bridge to kill Miyata, Hayashi, and Okajima. And you know, something that kind of almost undid all of the goodwill that was gained by Okajima was when he started panicking and he started just ripping the chain on the side of the cliff. He was trying to shake the monkey off and he inadvertently loosened the chain and just pulled it out of the wall. And so now Miyata, Hayashi, they're all in danger and he's in danger as well. He's dangling on the side of the cliff. The monkey is literally right there hurling stones at him, trying to kill him, right? And, you know, in any other situation with any other character, they would have gave up Okajima. They would have let Okajima just die and just run, right? And I'm gonna be honest with you, my goodwill that was built up for Okajima up till this point was kind of just gone. It was kind of gone. I was just thinking to myself, why don't Saotome, Hayashi, and Miyata just sacrifice Okajima and just go? He has no practical skills. He's not helping you at all. He is basically holding you back as a team. The three of you can get out of here. You're already safe. Okajima's just gone. The monkey's focusing on Okajima. Let him take Okajima out, right? So I just had no love for Okajima. I didn't hate him, but in that situation, I was just like, he's not contributing to anything. He is a hindrance to their survival. They need to just decide to cut their losses and let Okajima die. But Miyata, Hayashi, and Saotome, they're too good. They're too good. They basically decided, fuck it. All right, we're all gonna go down trying to save Okajima, you know? We're gonna try. And what built up all of my goodwill that was just kind of almost thrown into the dirt was Okajima having a flashback of how he was bullied in school, of how he was basically never picked and nobody wanted to help him out, right? And he realized these three people are risking their lives to save me. And Okajima is doing something. Saotome's just like, you know, take my hand. We can get to the side of the cliff. Okajima's like, fuck that. You know, I'm tired of you guys risking your life to save me. He realizes that the situation is just a lost cause. He grabs the side of the cliff, tears a huge chunk of rock off, and he basically throws the rock and himself at the monkey that's right underneath him, hitting the monkey square in the face, knocking the monkey off the chain. They both fall down the side of the cliff, and the monkey dies, and Okajima dies. He sacrificed himself to take the monkey out with him, because he did not want Saotome, Miyata, and Hayashi to die saving him. And that just redeemed him. That built all that goodwill. It just went sky high, man. Sky high. I love Okajima, all right? He didn't get that much character development, and he didn't do too much good throughout the entire series, but when it came to sacrificing himself for the greater good, he did what was necessary, and he decided not to be a burden. And I really do appreciate that. That's why Okajima, yeah, he gets a special mention here. Look, I know I set a criteria for this video where I'll be talking about the least likable and the most unimportant characters, and then progressing to the more likable and important characters. And by that criteria, I should be talking about Izuka and Fujishiba, who are two absolute scumbags. But hear me out here. I like Tono, so I'm going to talk about Tono. Tono is the analytical nerd of the group. What made Tono unlikable to me for a portion of the manga was that Tono was very passive. He was a fence sitter. When it came to Anzai and his interrogation and torture methods, Tono didn't agree with it, but he still decided to stay with Anzai's group because he felt that Anzai had the determination and the skill set necessary for the survival of the group, as opposed to Miyata and his group. So that was a point against him. Another point against him was that Tono didn't really have that much of a spine of his own. When Satao was accused of being the monkey's accomplice and accused of stealing the soda, which we both know are salacious lies by Himuro, Anzai tried to get Fujishiba to torture Satao. Fujishiba couldn't do it, but Tono picks up the shovel, and Tono is basically saying, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do what's necessary. You're a kid. You're willing to smash a woman's face in that we all kind of know is innocent because Anzai is telling you to do so. What's wrong with you? So when the cabin gets attacked by monkeys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I know he was a kid, but I kind of was wishing that the monkeys would just straight up massacre him. Okay, I was just kind of wishing that the monkey that was going down the stairs was just gonna butcher him, because he was standing right there looking at the monkey. The monkey has the machete. All it needed to do was swing and decapitate him. That's all I was wishing for. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm also glad that the monkey didn't do it, because Tono redeems himself later on as the group reconvenes with Miyata's group and they're going past the rope chain bridge. Tono is concerned for Sato. He's concerned for her health. He knows that she's going through hunger knocks. He knows that she's tired. He knows that she's dehydrated. He knows that she's particularly drained and she's just emotionally exhausted from this entire situation. And Tono is just constantly looking out for her, trying to make sure she's okay. But let's just be honest. Sato has been through a lot. Okay? She has watched all of her co-workers basically betray her and willingly step up to interrogate her. So it's kind of hard for her to really just be on a good standing with anybody at that point when your entire group accuses you and tries to murder you. Yeah, you don't really feel particularly good vibes towards anyone. So she was very bitter towards Tono, calling him a child, telling him that he didn't have a spine, that he wasn't even going to go through with the interrogation and stuff like that, and that he is probably going to be all alone because everybody's going to die. And that's kind of rough to say to Tono because he's basically like a kid to me, right? So how can you say that to a kid, even though that kid is kind of a douchebag? But Tono further redeems himself when the group, Miyata and Anzai's group, reconvene into one group, make it back to this other cabin, right? And this cabin is going to be attacked in the middle of the night by the monkeys and the human accomplice. However, what is really good here is that Tono, with his academic wisdom and all of his nerdiness, is able to cook up a pipe bomb. He's able to cook up a pressure cooked bomb, right? And even though Miyata, Satome, and Hayashi and the rest of the group are pretty much setting up traps and planning up everything to take out the monkeys and lure them upstairs to kill them, right? Tono has this pressure cooker bomb ready as a last resort option. However, Tono does admit he's not really experienced in making bombs, which he shouldn't. He shouldn't. Let's just be honest. He shouldn't. But he was saying that, you know, it should go off. He just doesn't know how long it'll take to go off. It could be a couple of seconds. It could be a couple of minutes. And this is crucial because he doesn't know when it's going to go off. So we have this bomb that's in the back pocket of the group, right? If everything else fails, we have this pressure cooker bomb. Things happen. The group's plan to kill the monkeys inside the house doesn't go as planned. The monkeys are outside of the house, preventing them from getting out. Satao is being held hostage by one of the monkeys. Tono is upstairs with the pipe bomb. The pipe bomb isn't going off. He was originally rolling the pipe bomb towards the three monkeys to blow them all up. Pipe bomb doesn't go off. He picks up the pipe bomb again, or the pressure cooker, tries to figure out what's wrong. He sees that Satao is being held hostage. We have these flashbacks for Tono back in his day where he was out with some students or some, colleagues or whatever. There's these guys giving them a bad time. Tono speaks English. He's supposed to be able to talk to them and calm down the situation. Tono does nothing because he's passive. He's passive. He doesn't have a spine. Tono is tired of being useless. He's tired of not being able to do anything, right? So Tono literally walks through fire with this with this pressure cooker. I don't know why I keep calling it a pipe bomb, but he walks through fire. He gets downstairs behind the monkeys with the pressure cooker, and he basically holds it up, threatening the monkeys to basically kill everybody in the radius of the bomb if they don't release Satao. The monkeys don't give a shit. They basically spear this man, they spear this kid in the stomach, and, Tono's about to die. I'm just like, oh, no, not Tono. Tono is basically fading out of consciousness, thinking that he failed because he couldn't even get he couldn't get the pressure cooker right. However, just as he's about to lose consciousness, he hears a crackling in the pressure cooker that signals that it's about to go off. He gets up. He has a second wind. He's carrying the pipe bomb. He's carrying the pressure cooker. And he's running towards the monkeys. He climbs on the monkey's back. And, he's basically saying, don't you underestimate the power of science. The monkey is running into the building of fire. The pipe bomb, the pressure cooker goes off, basically destroys one of the monkeys. We are down to 2 monkeys and a human accomplice. Tono sacrifices himself so that Satao will live. Tono sacrifices himself, takes out a monkey, saves the entire group because the monkeys retreat after that pressure cooker. I didn't want to say pipe bomb again, but they retreat. Satao finds Tono's glasses in the fire and she keeps them. And she breaks down, calling him useless. But in that moment, I think she just really feels grateful that Tono made that sacrifice so that she may live. I think that Tono, I don't know, this is a long video, to be honest. I might split this up into 2 parts. But Tono and Okajima, they were some underrated characters, all right? They were some low-key MVPs, all right? Without them, some of the characters in this series would have died. Okay, if Okajima did not sacrifice himself, I'm pretty sure that Miyata, he would have suffered more grievous injuries than he was already suffering. Saotome probably would have suffered even more grievous injuries than he was already suffering. The entire group would have probably been pulled down. They would have died with him. And that's what the monkey was wanting. If it wasn't for Tono using that pressure cooker and taking out that third monkey, it would have been a rougher situation for the group. Satao probably would have been killed because Anzai basically had no moral qualms about it whatsoever. Anzai was just ignore Satao. She's weak and exhausted already. She's she's useless. We can still attack the monkeys even though they're holding her hostage. So Satao is probably going to die. A lot more people are probably going to die trying to take out those monkeys. And yeah, I just think Tono and Okajima, MVPs. Now, I'm just going to end this first part of this review here. We are going to be getting into the other characters. Trust me, we're going to be getting to the juicy ones. We're going to be getting to Izuka. We're going to be getting to Fujishiba. We're going to be getting to Saotome, Miyata, Hiyashi, Hasagawa, Anzai, and that hiker dude. I'm going to figure out his name, okay? Look, I have the attention span of a squirrel. You can't expect me to remember all of these names, all right? I'm kind of glad 30 people died off at the start of the manga because you really expect me to remember all of these names and make a video on 30 plus people? I don't think so. But if you guys have liked this video so far and you have liked you liked it and you agree with my thoughts on some of these characters, please subscribe for more. I'm going to be doing more manga review revisits and we're going to be trying to bring some more manga reviews to the channel. So look forward to the part 2. Look forward to other manga reviews. Bye.